What are the odds that you would ever survive a shark attack, and what are the odds that after surviving the shark attack, you would ever get back into the ocean? Well, Paul Gelder has done just that. He's a former Navy diver, and he joins me now this morning. Nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
You're a water person. You knew the risks going into the ocean. We all know that. I grew up surfing, so I know what that feels like. So, but you're a trained guy. You're a trained Navy diver. Tell me a little bit about your background in that area.
Well, I joined the Army initially. I was in the Army Airborne for 4 years, and while I loved the job and I loved being with the guys and going on adventures, I just needed more. I needed more fulfillment, more of a challenge. So I tried out for what's called the clearance divers. It's similar to the Navy SEALs out here in America, and I passed all the selection courses, got onto that, and I was doing that for 4 years, doing underwater surveillance and mine countermeasures, land-based EOD, very, very diverse role. It's a lot of fun. And then one day in 2009, I turned up to work to do some counter-terrorism training, and I got attacked by a shark. Took my hamstring and my hand, so I ended up having my leg for a week, but I couldn't move it, I couldn't feel it because the muscle and the nerve were gone. And so I had to make that decision to have it taken off, which was terrifying because I woke up and I knew my hand was gone, and I'd seen that, I'd accepted that, there's nothing you can do about it. Right. But if I could keep my leg, then maybe I could keep this job that I love so much. So making the decision to have that taken off was pretty tough, but I'm a realistic sort of person, and I realize that there's no point having something I can't move, I can't feel. It's just going to be a hindrance. So I decided to have it taken off because all I really wanted to do was just get on with life. And that involves getting back into the water. And so as soon as the stitches and staples were out of my leg, I was down at Bondi Beach trying to surf with my buddies on one leg. I spent a lot of time underwater that day. Yeah. But just day by day and month by month, I became more and more comfortable. And to be honest, you come that close to death in the most violent and horrific of ways. My greatest nightmare was being attacked by a shark. When you come that close to death like that, you either curl up in a ball and you're afraid of everything, or you realize that there's just nothing left to be afraid of. I discovered that dying and death just isn't as scary as I thought it was going to be.
I don't even know how to digest what you just said. I mean, to me, it's remarkable that you have the strength to do that, but I think that goes to your character and the kind of person that you are and what you're focused on in your life. And the focus of your life is that you're still alive and you're going to live your life to its fullest. Now, I have to say, honestly, I've never shaken a prosthetic hand until I shook yours. Yeah. And that's quite a feeling. It's very strong, very powerful. So you've got strength. The mobility that you have now with your prosthetic leg is like when you were complete without the attack.
I wish it was. Okay, no.
So tell me about some of the frustrations with this.
There are absolutely limitations, and the prosthetics that I have are the best in the world. I'm extremely fortunate that the military pays for everything and I get the best. But the hand is never gonna replicate a real hand. It's a $90,000 holding device. Yeah. It opens and closes, it holds the dog lead, I can change it to beer drinking grip so I can hold a beer, which is important because I'm Australian. Yeah. And the leg as well. I can walk, it has a running mode, but I don't have the running foot for it. It's just, I'm really looking forward to the day that science fiction becomes science fact inside this realm, because that's going to change not just my life but lives around the world, because the wars around the world and the disease and stuff have taken limbs away from a lot of people, and technology as it continues to grow is going to change those lives.
What do you do now?
I fell into speaking. And I didn't want to do that either. The only thing I was more afraid of than sharks was public speaking. But Cancer Camp for Kids approached me and asked me to speak to them. And you can't say no to kids with cancer. And so I went along to that, terrified of these 20 small children.
Finally, you found something you're afraid of. That's a bunch of kids.
And I gave an impromptu presentation, and I walked out of that room on top of the world, feeling like I'd given these kids a glimpse into another realm. I'd made them laugh. I'd made them forget that they grew up in hospitals and were going back to hospitals. And that made me feel good in my soul. And so I went from there to 1,200 kids at my old school. And it just got bigger and bigger from there. And I found a lot of satisfaction in telling not just the shark attack story, but the military story and the struggles that I went through before that growing up with 6 people on a policeman's wage in the 80s. It's not a lot of money, and I went to an all-boys Catholic school, and I ended up cutting up my arms. I was a self-harmer because I was so frustrated at the lack of control I had over my life. And so teaching them those lessons and telling them those stories really made me feel like I had value and purpose again. So that's just growing and growing more. I'm doing it out here in America now that I live in LA a lot. I've done it for Amazon, for Viacom. I just got a standing ovation at the Snapchat conference. So I was worried that the Australian humour and maybe the story wouldn't change over, but it really does. And on top of that, I get to work for Discovery Channel and film Shark Week documentaries.
Well, you have a unique perspective, having been in the water with one, and maybe on your next visit you can tell us about the kind of the tumbling roughs, the whole experience, how that all happened. I want you to relive that for us, but on the next visit. For now, let me just say that you're an inspiration.
Thank you.
It's great to meet you, and the name of your puppy here?
This is Otis.
Otis. Otis is amazing, and you're amazing. Thanks so much for being here. It's really been an honor, and we'd love to have you back.
I'd love to. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for being here.